Wyciągnijcie nas, nie bójcie się, przecież was nie zjemy.
Właściwie to są dzieci mojej dobrej znajomej.
Będą robiły u nas chórki i striptizy.
Musicie się tylko dobrze bawić, reszta pójdzie sama.
Back again for another helping of Halloween goodness. This time I gave you Only Lovers Left Alive. So what do you have in store for us?
The Lure. It is a Polish film. I will not even try to attempt to read the director's name.
All right, Agnieszka Smoczynska.
Sure. If we're wrong, sorry.
If we're wrong, comment section, do the phonetical pronunciation in there. We would appreciate it.
I picked it up because it's a Criterion Collection, and as you well know, I'm a complete sucker for the Criterion Collection.
And you know what? If I'm not careful, you'll turn me into a whore for Criterion, because this man tells me that there's half off at Barnes & Noble, and lo and behold, I go in there, and I end up walking out of there with Harold and Maude half price, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Harold and Maude is amazing, though.
You know, they're doing it. They just released a ginormous Godzilla collection.
Shut up.
Oh, yeah.
Just shut up.
Okay. Anyway.
Let's talk about the lure.
Basically, it is a modern-day retelling of The Little Mermaid. This is not Disney at all.
So that means the mermaid in question actually evolves as a character? Hey, you know what? The Disney remake might actually fix that.
Yeah. This is They Are Monsters.
Okay. So more like
well, actually, they're like sirens also.
Okay, all right. So there you go. So
They do the whole singing and luring men to their deaths. And
all right, yeah.
It is a fairly faithful retelling of the original tale, and as such, it's really not for kids, and it's really, it's a horror story.
Yeah, which is why we're here, because it is Halloween, and we've got to get some good juicy horror in. So so a little bit of seafood to go with our candy is not a bad idea.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to say about it, unfortunately.
Okay, so...
without spoiling anything, so...
All right, so as you said, you can find this on Criterion, but I'm pretty sure you could probably find it on streaming through alternate means. Probably on iTunes.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure if you do some hunting...
Maybe Canopy.
Maybe Canopy, and isn't Criterion even having a channel? Aren't they going to be...
Yes, they do. Lure's not on that yet.
Not on there yet, but given time. So, however means you can get a hold of it, go ahead, get it queued up, and come back to us on the flip side. This is The Lure. Okay, first note, you didn't tell me, and we should probably tell them, yes, this is a musical.
Sorry.
Well, for me, I was delighted. Most of the time, whenever I see musicals, they're, mainly in English speaking. I actually very seldom don't get a chance to see musicals from other countries. Or the only one I've seen was Francois Ozon's 8 Women. A pair of sirens, in the beginning of the movie, they're doing their thing, trying to lure a couple men into the ocean so they can eat them. But they end up getting caught, and they end up getting exploited in a burlesque club because, of course, they can sing, and the fact that, oh my God, they're mermaids.
Yeah.
And they end up becoming something of the talk of the town, but of course, because they are now as a part of our society, they kind of pretty much get corrupted. The fact that this is a horror musical actually is kind of cool in its own right. So that made for a more unique experience, especially horror musicals. That's a genre that, apart from the obvious Sweeney Todd, you don't really and I guess now Repo Genetic Opera, you don't really come across too many. One thing that's important with musicals, particularly with the way filmmaking is done, it's important that the camera is just as much of a dancer as the people on the screen.
Yeah.
I love it when the camera flows with the music just as well as they do, especially with the rhythm, the melody. That makes it work. As far as the songs themselves, of course, they're in another language, so I'm sure in the native tongue they sound great. I'm like, in my head when I was watching, I was like, how's this? I'm trying to sing this out while I'm in English. I don't know if it works as well.
It does, yeah. Well,
yeah. So, but then again,
the words don't rhyme.
Yeah. As the horror element goes, this is first off, this is definitely, a kind of a combination of mermaid and siren kind of thing. Yeah, they do eat men. Kind of thing, which definitely added a nice little spice to it. Yes, this is a Little Mermaid adaptation. If you know the actual story, Hans Christian Andersen's story of Little Mermaid, this actually does follow it.
Yes.
To a very impressive extent. I mean, it's a modernization of the story. Only they add a little extra edge of the fact that the Ariel character in question is carnivorous and has a sister who is much more about that. And which added a bit of fun to the traditional way the story is told, but I will say I knew how it was going to end, because again, I know the original story, but with the extra added thing of having the sister, I was like, you do realize, even if you do what you do, well, with Silver, the Ariel character, basically, with the character Silver basically not willing to eat him, and then turning into sea foam, I'm like, you do realize your sister's just going to rush over and just slaughter his ass afterwards, and lo and behold, that's exactly what she did. And I'm like, you might as well just rip his throat out anyway.
Yeah.
You know, he'll live on inside you until you shit him out. But either way, when I was watching it throughout, I was like, okay, how is this following the Little Mermaid story? Because I don't remember anything about her becoming a pop star or becoming a burlesque or burlesque singer in a strip club. And that I was like, where is it leading to? It wasn't until the point when Silver was willing to have the surgery done to have her tail switched out. Of course, that does me going, what is the story of the woman who got the tail?
Yeah.
What happens when she dries off? I mean, she'll be like, whoa, wait.
Can you breathe the water now? And
yeah, can she actually breathe the water? I mean, because, yeah, she got the mermaid half, but does she have the upper half? I don't know. I was like, I don't think either of you thought this through, really.
Well,
it seems to me Silver was getting the better end of the deal, even though, well, I did like that they were actually taking the time to have her realize that, yeah, she still had to learn how to walk with a new pair of legs, even though that kind of surgery doesn't really work. But again, there's also a world of mermaids.
It's a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale with mermaids. We can let certain things like that go. But by and large, as far as like the way the film's made, I was really in awe of how stylized it was. I mean,
it's truly beautiful.
Yeah, visually, it's a stunning film. In a way, I'm glad you didn't tell me it was a musical, because I love the big surprise. Like, oh, hey. And it does kind of make sense in the end, because one of the things about mermaids and sirens is that they always lure men with song, so you might as well just go the full night and have them sing too.
Yeah.
I'm going to warn you guys in advance. Of course, if you're with me, you probably already watch it along with us, but if you decide to skip ahead, or if you don't mind spoilers, if it makes you uncomfortable, there is a lot of nudity in here, and I'm still kind of wondering how old the actresses were who played the two mermaids. I'm like going,
they were, I'm pretty sure they were.
Yeah, but the way they're building them out to be like younger or something like that.
There was a very big subplot about the sex trade, and they were being exploited and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I mean, heck, the father of the bunch pretty much whores them out to the guy who owns the club on the first night.
Yes.
Which I'm like, that's pretty scummy. There are no angels in this movie. No. Even the most angelic of the bunch has her dark side to her. But, I mean, I suppose in the scheme of all these characters, in the end, she's the one who, I guess, is the redemption, has the redemptive arc.
Sure.
She could have done pretty much what was in her nature and what everyone wanted her to do. But in the end, she decided to be the better person, I guess. And then let him get his throat ripped out. I'm not going to stop harping on that. But
there was no scenario where he
was coming at... And you know, there's a part of me really happy that it happened that way, because, again, guy was a scumbag.
Okay, fine, she's a fish. Don't lead her on.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, I'm sorry. And you know what? There was a scene earlier where he said that he wasn't comfortable, hooking up with her because she's a mermaid. Leave it at that. Don't lead her on, and she should probably go like, you know what, I should probably just save myself until I find someone who is okay with it. Because there's people who had no problem diddling them in their mermaid form, evidently there are people in this world who would be okay with it.
Don't kink shame.
Again, yes. Don't kink shame. In fact, there's another scene involving her sister, Golden, with a cop in bed, and she evidently had no problem with it.
Yeah, that was the thing that got me. There's this whole middle part. Goldie going and killing the guy, and then there's a police investigation, and
I'm betting she probably killed the cop too. I'm wagering.
probably.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it certainly fit her character.
Actually, that's the thing I gotta say. If there's any character who I think I admired the most was Golden, because she's the only one in the entire one who's staying true to herself.
Yeah, she was honest.
She was probably the most honest character in the bunch, and I admit I was very sad at the very end when she had to watch.
And she truly loved her. I mean, she was given the opportunity to.
Told her, listen, you got to do this or you will die. So if there's any character you're going to root for, it's going to be the one that pretty much is the most honest of the bunch. Especially when you're watching musical scenes of a family in the middle of a domestic spat. The father of the family, they don't actually say names in this movie, but he walks out on her. He walks out on his wife, and yet they all have this big thing, and yet they still work together, or they still sing together. And of course, the scummiest thing is that he leaves his wedding ring and takes one of her cigarettes. I'm like, asshole, just go don't forget tobacconists.
I don't know. People when they're addicted to cigarettes take them very seriously.
But we will never be. Don't smoke, kids.
Amen.
Kids should be watching this movie. Little kids.
Yeah.
Shouldn't. Don't be mean and tell kids, hey, you want to watch this new version of Little Mermaid?
Yeah, don't do that.
You don't do that.
God, don't do that. Oh,
don't do that unless you're just really sadistic.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh God, I think I just incepted them. I think I just spun the top in their head. Damn it. Strike that. Reverse it.
What did you think of it?
Frankly, I was really impressed by the fearlessness of it. I mean, because, like you say, don't kink shame, and this is a movie that is one of those ones that does kind of explore.
This never could have been made in America.
Exactly.
It had to have been made in a different
It had to have been made in another country. We seem to be so repressed that we can't get away with doing a lot more interesting, or stuff that is willing to tackle some harsh stuff. I mean, for all the movie's faults, a Serbian film was still ballsy enough to take on, to do a film like that. I mean, for as uncomfortable as that film is. And The Lure is a film that is totally not bound by any sort of inhibitions or any sort of like demographic, where it's like, oh no, people, our film going public won't condone these sort of shenanigans on film. This is the kind of movie that I know, even if they tried to remake it, it would never be as good. Because
it's a very recent film on top of that.
That doesn't stop them.
True.
It didn't take them long to do an American adaptation of Let the Right One In. Yeah, so and I would imagine they would have tickled with the idea of maybe remaking this one, but honestly, it would lose something owing to the fact that a lot of this is about the body. It's a lot about being comfortable in your skin, and these two characters are very comfortable in their own skin. When they're together, there's the whole dance, there's a whole music sequence where the two of them are together on this dance floor singing the song, and they are like in tandem. They're like in perfect unison. And that's an important thing. It's about the fact of being comfortable with yourself. And it's very clear, and I gotta commend the two actresses who played Golden and Silver. They had to be crazy comfortable with themselves and each other to be able to do a lot of the scenes that they do. If there's any reason I'm going to praise this movie, and definitely put it as menu-worthy, it's the bravery of it. It is a brave movie. It's an imaginative film. And it's one of those classic cases of telling a traditional story, but telling it in a brand new, very, very intriguing way. And I would, for the most curious, I'd say if you are incredibly curious about seeing that kind of idea, I'd say give this one a go.
Yeah.
I mean, as a horror film, yeah, you were right. It's not scary by any stretch of the imagination. No. But as a horror story with a new twist, see it for that. Definitely see it for that. So that would be my major reason to watch it. Yeah. I think we...
Glad you liked it.
Yeah. So, if you guys liked it, disliked it, or if we have sold this to you, leave it in the comments below. If you have any recommendations for us for future episodes of Rare Delicacies, again, leave it in the comments below. We are listening. Just, make sure it doesn't have Norman Reedus and Marilyn Monroe wig.
It has moments.
It has moments.
Yeah.
Whereas this one had a lot of great moments. Definitely worthy of it, and definitely why it's on the menu.
The menu.